Greetings, fellow dragon fruit growers. This is Paul, and here is the 16-day update on the graft. The Wallace Ranch style graft is what I'm calling it, where it's basically a 50-50 graft of Desert King seedling and Paul Thompson 6S. So I'm going to unwrap this in just a second, but I wanted to show you a success and a failure of the graft that I did it a month ago. So these are both the same plant, Success and Natural Mystic, and the one on the left is rooted successfully inside my greenhouse, but it's getting so cold, I'm gonna put it indoors. I'll show you that in a minute. And then here is my failure, and I think what happened is it was too hot. We had a really hot day, it got 99 degrees in the greenhouse, and that's where it started to yellow and rot. And ironically, it's just on the Natural Mystic side. The Success is fine. And so this one is rooted as well, just slightly. So I'm going to leave them alone and just see what happens, especially to the failure, see how the plant responds. Okay, in addition, I did want to share really quickly that I'm starting to root with just pure Vermistera earthworm castings and distilled water. So you can see all the roots in there, and I just left this in there for about 2 months. And I watered it, I don't know, twice or 3 times a month, and you can see it's just got prolific roots. So you can root a cutting in pure earthworm castings, and that's what I'm gonna do with this one. So let's go ahead and unwrap this and see what happens. See if it's a success or a failure. But I did want to mention, rooting with earthworm castings is actually a pretty good strategy because there's lots of beneficial microbes, and it should minimize your chances of rot. I have not had any rot inside the earthworm castings yet. Not even this little Sarong's orange dragon. So I rooted this one in those earthworm castings in just about 3 weeks. That's pretty impressive this time of year in Southern California, Zone 9B, because this is where you really want to start changing your strategies for rooting cuttings because it just gets so cold. All right, let me focus on this. Hopefully I don't damage it or pull it apart. So it is pretty dried out, and that's the challenge, is using young cuttings, because I think that's the most successful. Using young cuttings should be the most successful way to get this to work, to create a somatic fusion, where you could take 2 varieties and produce a new variety from it. It's looking pretty good so far. Definitely dried. And let me finish unwrapping this for you. Okay, so here it is. Finally got all the tape off. And it's looking decent. It's not totally straight. There's a good fusion here. You can see it's a really good fusion. And down at the stem, it's decent. So it's definitely fused together from about here to about here. And that's a problem I'm having, is do I want to keep these separate? Or what if I actually just graft it in the future, cut the meristem here and graft it together and use one? I'm just gonna keep playing around with it until hopefully we can see something successful. I expect it's gonna be pretty rare to have success on this, but it's gonna be fun trying. And I really look forward to somebody in the community to being successful and creating another somatic fusion. So anyways, let me show you what I'm gonna do next to hopefully get this to root and not rot like this one, because this is not what I want. You can see it's probably, I expect this whole thing will just die and the Success will live on. So all right, let's get in the garage and I'll show you the next steps for this wonderful graft. So here in the garage, you can see we have a heating mat set up, 81 degrees, and I'm using distilled water to root some very unhappy cutting. Now you want to use distilled water because sometimes if you have hard water, it can really inhibit the growth of the roots. Also have this grow light on 24 hours to really hopefully get some new growth off of that successful graft over there. Now you can see I have also a cutting here that was very unhappy. It has megalanthus DNA, and those tend to be really stubborn to root sometimes. And so hopefully this one will bounce back. You can see I'm using pure earthworm castings, nice thin layer, and then I push the cutting down to get roots. So that way it's into that nice warm environment. I water it very lightly. I would tend to use a spray bottle. However, you don't want to get the graft like this wet because it's going to end up promoting some rot and you're going to have some problems. So you can see here I did tip this, and this is the half 6S, half Desert King. You can see it's dried out, and we'll see if we can get some successful sort of fusion. I am doubtful, but I'm going to hope on this thorn something's going to happen. Now, I would recommend, if you want to maybe try something more successful, is to use this tool. You can find these online. They call them weather stripping tools or weather V-cutting tools, I believe. And what I would do is I would cut and do the graft this method, but I would cut this thorn in half, the node, and fuse two of those together. So somebody with a lot of expert precision could maybe try that and see if you could get a successful fusion that way. So there you go. That's what I like to do. Again, grow light on 24 hours. You can set this thing 80 to 85 degrees. I have it for 81 degrees right now. And if it gets colder in our garage, what I'll do is I'll build and put boxes around this to build more of a warming area. And again, I can leave this light on for 24 hours a day. It doesn't cause any problems. It just really forces these plants to come out of dormancy, root, and get some new growth. So there you go. Give us a like and a subscribe. We'll keep you updated on this interesting graft that Julio had success with. All right. Thanks for watching. Take care. Have a wonderful day.